Good evening, everybody, and thank you so much for tuning into In the Hot Seat. This evening, I am sitting down with the fantastic team from Village664. So if you've been on the island during St. Patrick's, you'd have seen their launch, but today we're here to find out a little bit more about them, what they do, and basically the remit of the entire team. So as you can see, I have on screen with me Jermaine Dublin, Natalie, Francis Clark, Renika Gerald, and Derek Osborne. Good afternoon, everybody, and how are you?
Good afternoon, Renika. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely, no problem at all. I've heard some really good things about some of the work that you're doing, so I thought that would be a good opportunity to bring you in and hear it from yourself. So before further ado, I'm just going to run and do a quick sponsorship ad, and then I'll come back and we'll jump into the conversation. So just bear with me. So good afternoon once again, everybody, and thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of In the Hot Seat with me, Vinaya Bass. As I said earlier, I'm in the hot seat today with the members of Village664, which is a new Montserrat diaspora organization. I'll just introduce you to everybody again if you're just joining the conversation. So I'll jump over to you, Jermaine. Typically when I have these conversations with people, everybody wants to know, what is your Montserrat connection? So I'm going to give you an opportunity to just introduce yourself to the audience and just tell us your role in Village664 as well.
So my name is Jermaine Dublin. I'm from the once beautiful village of Cork Hill in Montserrat. I left at the height of the volcanic crisis in Montserrat and went to United Kingdom. I actually trained as a nurse in Montserrat as well. So I was working at the Glendon Hospital, and then we moved across to the north. So I was here for quite a while before we migrated. And my interest in Montserrat, I actually just recently built a home in Montserrat because my plan is to return to Montserrat. So I have a huge interest in the development and the progress of Montserrat because I plan to make it my home again, my full-time home again.
Fantastic. So up next, we have Miss Natalie Francis Clark. So Natalie, tell us a little bit about yourself and your role in Village664.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Well, I am from Salem. My family are the Francois, and my dad is from Cork Hill, Wilfred Francis. My mom is Lavina Francis, but she passed away. My role, I am communications member, and I actually decided to join Village664 just the love that I have for Montserrat, just knowing how many people in the diaspora has so much talent and so much to contribute to the island. So I definitely want to be a part to bridge that.
Fantastic. And then over to you, Renika. So I think a lot of people will be familiar with your face because you were recently working on the island. But I'll just give you the opportunity to just introduce yourself, your Montserrat connection, and your role in Village664.
Thanks, Vinay. Hi, everyone. Yes, I'm Ronika Gerald. And as Vinay said, I did recently move back to Montserrat in 2022, and now I'm back in the UK. But originally, I was born in Montserrat in Plymouth and left in 97 during the crisis. We moved to the UK and spent the last 26 years in the UK until I moved back. And now I'm back in the UK, but however, due to my passion and love for Montserrat, I continue to thrive and work to rebuild Montserrat for what it was once known for. And that's why I'm working with Village664. I'm also part of the communication committee. Thank you.
Hello, sorry, just had a little bit of a connectivity issue there, so I apologize. So if you can just say that again, Ronika?
Should I start from scratch?
Just at the end of what you were saying.
Okay, I was saying that I'm part of the communications committee team.
In Village664. Okay, fantastic. And last but certainly not least, we're saving the gentleman for last. Derek Osborne. So some of you may have seen the video that I published this morning from the launch event where Derek was speaking. But I'll give Derek the opportunity to just introduce himself to the audience. He's got a very popular surname, so some of you may know his background, but I'll let him tell you for himself.
Sure, thank you, Vanessa. So yeah, Derek Osborne, and I'm part of the MS Osborne family. So MS Osborne was my grandfather, and Bertrand Osborne was my father. And I grew up in a household where there was always service, giving back to many communities. My mother, Liz Shaw Osborne, involved with Red Cross for probably forever. And so I grew up in Town Hill, and I've been in the Bahamas for the last 30 years after studying and abroad. But I'm a regular returner to Montserrat probably 4 or 5 times a year. And, for many reasons, would love to see Montserrat grow and develop. And in so doing, that's why, we're here part of Village664, and I'm the chairman of Village664.
Fantastic. So thank you very much, guys, for introducing yourself there to the audience. So one of the questions I had was, are you guys the actual founding members of Village664? And how did the idea or the concept for Village664 come about? Should I jump to you, Derek, again?
Yeah, I'll take it. So yes, the 3 ladies you see and myself, all founding members. And this idea really goes back probably 6-7 years. I went back to find out, when I first, we first approached the government, actually, the Premier's office, back in 2019, with the idea of forming a diaspora group. I was at a conference in Barbados. This was in 2017, and there was a speaker from Aruba who spoke about brain drain becoming a brain gain. And reached out to her, whatever, and we got her involved. We did some surveys of the diaspora. One thing led to another. And then we started a WhatsApp group, and we got some more and more people to get on board. And then so we got to a point where we created a name, and we got some, mission, vision, and some values together. And so here we are. So the idea really is to bridge that gap between those in diaspora and those at home.
Okay, fantastic. And the name's a very interesting one because obviously I've used the 664 moniker. So why did you choose the name Village664? Who wants to take that one?
It takes a village. And, there's an old saying, it takes a village to raise a child. And we believe that even though we're spread out, it's still a village it's a term we use in Montserrat. We still use about villages, where you live or where you're from. 664, of course, being the area code that we have now. And we thought it fitting, that we want to link everybody, whether you're in the UK, in the US, whether you're in Europe, whether you're in the Middle East, the Caribbean, we still 664. We still call Village664 Montserrat home. And I'll tell you now, Vernia, one of our survey questions, or several questions, revealed back then that most of the people who left Montserrat stayed out longer than they wanted to, but they still go back home regularly and they want to get involved.
Mm-hmm. That's absolutely true. And the thing is, sometimes I think we all call Montserrat a little village now as well. So it's also fitting. But Can you provide, I know you alluded to a mission and a vision before. Natalie, is this something that you'd be interested in answering? What is the overall mission and vision behind Village 664?
Well, I think Derek kind of summed it up. We do want to bridge bridge that gap, with those in the diaspora as well as those on island. One of the things that we definitely would like to do, is to maybe like identify what's missing or what's needed and connect. Um, I just want to clarify that we don't want to come in as if we're trying to take over. We want this as a partnership. So I think that's a key thing that we need to emphasize. We want this to be a partnership to work together for that common love, of those abroad and as well as those home. So.
Fantastic. And over to you, Ronika, someone who has recently lived on the island. What are some of the challenges that you think that we face here in Montserrat that Village 664 aims to address? And I'll open that up to the wider group as well, but I'll start with you, Ronika.
I think the wider issue is quite vast. But I would say it's having infrastructures, for instance, a variety of companies for young people to actually gain employment from. That's something I saw quite rapidly. You'd have a lot of young people, of course, they would leave, whether it's for education reasons or for job prospects. So I think that's one of the main challenges. And the key is young people to actually have something for them to do to carry on the future for Montserrat. So I think with Village 664 is definitely, again, bridging the gap to find those persons to connect and build infrastructure, whether it's tech companies or manufacturer companies, telecom, whatever it is. I think that's where we're trying to reach out to those persons in the diaspora that have the talents, have the skill set to come back and give to Montserrat. So I think it all stems with the young people, and they don't have to feel that they have to leave to find somewhere else to work. If they really want to stay in Montserrat, they should be able to do that, or definitely come back and give their skill set.
Absolutely, and that really speaks to the brain drain that Derek mentioned. And then over to you, Jermaine. Is there anything that you'd like to add, especially as someone who works within healthcare?
Yeah. So as we know, it's been a challenge because we lost a lot of the healthcare services that we had prior to, and as time goes on, one would expect that normally healthcare services develop and they get better and better, but we are lacking in some things, or a lot of things that ideally we would want to have if we want to be able to live comfortably in Montserrat. And for the diaspora, some of them who want to return home, retire at home, and so forth, the services are not there to really facilitate that. And I'm gonna repeat one of the Derek when we had one of our first meetings, and Derek liked to talk about this, but I'm gonna preempt him and say it today. And one of the young ladies that was on the meeting, and she was talking about her husband and herself and their children, trying to look at somewhere else to live. They live in the United States, but want to think of living outside, leaving the United States, going back to the Caribbean. And as she looked around, the conclusion that she came to was Montserrat did not make the list. And I think that kind of touched Derek at that point, because he talks about it all the time. But like I said, I'm preempting him now. And we want Montserrat to make the list, and for a number of reasons: opportunity for young people, healthcare for every and anybody, and certainly even those people who have challenges would love to come home for holiday but can't come because maybe they might need something as simple as dialysis. That's pretty common up here, but they may just need something to facilitate a holiday, a vacation, being able to live comfortably and get the services that they need to live there. So yes, I'm from the health service. I'm looking at everything, but certainly health is a great passion of mine since I've been in nursing for like over 30 years. So
Okay, thank you so much, Jermaine, for your contribution there. And Natalie, are there any challenges that really jump out to you, especially as someone who is living in the diaspora and you're used to all your creature comforts and obviously used to an infrastructure? So is there anything that you'd like to add in terms of challenges that you see that we face here on the island in terms of attracting?
Well, as far as a challenge, definitely transportation. I was talking to one of my girlfriends who was actually down at for St. Patrick's, and she talked about, the exhaustion of going and then coming back. You know, why is it like that? So I think that is definitely a challenge, as well as the health situation. And just to talk about something personal, I remember I myself wanted to move back to Montserrat. I was actually doing my master's in leadership and organizational change. And the reason why it didn't happen, life, as I say, life was lifing.
Mhm.
And at that time, my mother, she became diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer, right? So the thing was, even to think about it, because it was something that I really wanted to do. And my mother, my biggest cheerleader, she was down for that. But number one, health, you know, and number two, even if something happened, the medical aspect, and something like that, I just had to take it off of my list. Um, and that just shouldn't be, you know.
Mhm.
So
Thank you, Natalie. And then over to you, Derek, of course, because in the video that I published this morning and at the launch event, this story is obviously very close to your heart because you mentioned the exact same story that Jermaine just mentioned as it relates to making Montserrat a destination of choice. So tell me why that really struck a chord with you.
Because there are two reasons. One, so there are people on Montserrat who many of them are deciding to leave. And then there are other people who decided to move elsewhere in diaspora and not choosing Montserrat as a destination. And so at 4,000 people, we really need to find a way to encourage new investment, more people to move to Montserrat, whether they be Montserratian born, Montserratian roots, or even friends of Montserrat, or just even pure visitors who just love the island. And by so doing, we need to have infrastructure, education, healthcare that works. So we need those things. And I think one of the challenges we have with a small population, a large diaspora, is how do the people, those of us who live overseas, who are very almost forgotten in terms of how can we give back. And so the idea is, how can we find a way to coordinate the giving or the talents, the resources, the networks that those of us who live overseas have or have access to? How can we find them where they are, identify the needs on Montserrat, and link those two together? And that's what I think we're really all about.
Thank you, Derek. So as you've all said, there is not one easy fix for this situation that we have here in Montserrat. It's so layered, and I think sometimes that's why people in the past may have found it overwhelming, right? So are you guys obviously starting with any specific sectors or industries? I know Renika spoke a lot about the youth, but is your intention to just bite off a small chunk first and then slowly expand? Where do you see yourself starting first?
well, I know one of the things that we definitely want to work on is nonprofit management. So one of the things that are in the works is to provide like a workshop, like a 2-day workshop on management of nonprofits, the strategies, the fundraising, all the different details that go into that. So that's one of the initiatives that's in the works.
Okay, fantastic. And one of the key things, obviously, is that having an organization like yours, you can't work in isolation. So you also need to make sure that you're involving not just the local government or the government that's in power, but also the local stakeholders and just the local population as well. Because as Derek was saying, sometimes, if you're in the diaspora, it's easy to say we should be doing this and we should be doing that. etc. here on the island, with a population of only 4,000 and most of them aging, and also a large percentage of our population being migrants as well, it can be very difficult, right? So how are you guys? I know from the launch event that the governor was there and also the premier was there. So Derek, if you can just tell us a little bit about how you guys are collaborating with the local government and people actually here on the ground.
Right. Well, so the primary means, I think, would be through the NGOs, right? The plan is not to get in their way, but instead to help them. In terms of government interactions, we don't foresee too much of that, but if it happens, we certainly will deal with the Premier's office, which is the department responsible for diaspora. We certainly want to work with them and collaborate with them in whatever they're doing, diaspora related, and so. But the key is really the NGOs, both the existing ones and ones that we're going to encourage to be created, because as we heard earlier, there are gaps. Right, there are gaps, and if we can find people with passion locally and those overseas who want to support, we can find a way to create new NGOs, new nonprofit groups, and then support them to enhance Montserrat in a certain way, and then hopefully government would then come on board and see that, well, there's somebody trying to help this particular group, and therefore we can find funding for A, find funding for B, for project B, and so the collaboration really should come out of a really practical approach to achieving the goals of these groups and these individuals who want to make Montserrat better.
Okay, I'm not sure if this is a question for Jermaine, but speaking to the topic of NGOs and the training event that Natalie mentioned, is this something that's going to also be open to individuals in the diaspora as well? Because obviously, bearing in mind, we may have some local NGOs, but it may be a good point to also allow persons in the diaspora to be a part of this training so that they can also create organizations there that can eventually help the island. So is that something that you can speak to, Jermaine?
I am, to be honest, our main focus is Montserrat. So if whatever they're doing is going to benefit Montserrat, I don't see any reason why they couldn't be part of the trainings that we offer. I don't. They might have spoken about it before. I'm not quite sure, but part of what we do is try to source, people in the diaspora who have what these trainings to offer, who have the knowledge and the skill sets and so on that they could actually, help us or help with the training of these people. And so we're trying to build up a database and so on, so that people not only give financially but also give up their time and their skill and this and their services. So yeah, if it's going to benefit Montserrat, then I'm sure there's no reason why they shouldn't be allowed to be part of it, because it's really about,
Renika, you spoke a lot about the youth. Are you guys working with any young or youth organizations at the moment, or do you aspire to?
Yes, that's something that we are aspiring to do. At the moment, we are looking at our events and youth strategy, and it's something that we're trying to identify more of. So we should have more details on that in coming months, really. And with the NGOs that are existing on the island, there are a few who deal particularly with the young people. So we're constantly in works with them and actively speaking to them. So.
Okay, are you guys willing to name any of those organizations who you've already started to work with, or is it still too early for that?
We've anybody, is it? No, Derek,
you can go, Jermaine.
We've reached out to. We try to, like Derek said, one of the others said before. We're trying to collaborate with. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel necessarily. We want to work with the different organizations wherever they are, whether they're here in America, in Boston, in New York, in Canada, in London, wherever they are. We've reached out to the organizations that we know. We've made contacts. We just really want to work in collaboration. We don't want to reinvent the wheel. We don't want to be doing something that we don't necessarily have to do when we could be doing something else. Just that could be just a waste of time. So right now we have, like I said, we've reached out to reach out to people who we need to reach out to, so that we can work in partnership.
Okay, so
asking,
sorry.
Does that answer the question you were asking? Is that what you were asking?
Yeah, it's just really find out if if you guys have actually started to work with any NGOs as yet. Because obviously I know the launch was only a few weeks ago, so you still need a little bit of time to get the ball rolling. But I recognize from the launch event that you had like Toastmasters there and things like that. So I was just interested to find out if you've actually started working with them already. I think Derek is having some camera issues there. So, but one of the next questions that
it's a quick answer to that. There's a process for that to happen, i.e. we have questionnaires for them to fill out and so on, and then there's a selection process and so on. So there's actually a process that we have in place, where we encourage people to make that request, that initial request, and fill out that questionnaire, and then we would go through that questionnaire, and then we make a determination. Obviously, that's dependent on contributions that we do receive from people in the diaspora, and that's something as well that we're looking to really push for contributions.
Okay, fantastic. And then in terms of like a basic criteria for an NGO, what are some of the key things that you're looking for in those organizations? Could I go back to you, Derek?
Yeah, I'll take that one. So we really want them to be formal. We want them to have a bank account. We want them to have a board, with a president or an officers. They should have a plan, strategic plan, a budget, and they should have goals and objectives, right? And in so doing, they have a higher chance of being successful. And so, as part of the training Natalie mentioned a while ago, help them build. And it could be only those people on island who are doing what they do, or we identify people in diaspora who can join their board or be an advisor to that particular group as they try to strengthen themselves. So while we probably will provide funding initially to help them going, in terms of going forward, we want them to be really formal in their setup, organized in their planning, and before we can give them, additional funding to really enhance what they do.
So what if you are somebody who aspires to have an NGO? It's not officially set up yet, but it's something that they have in mind. Is that where so you welcome people for the training as well? Because there might be someone who's watching this and thinking, oh, that's a great idea, I can set up an NGO, but they wouldn't necessarily have everything in place yet.
So from idea, from incubation, right, from the idea phase all the way through to the end, we'll help walk them through that process.
Okay, fantastic. So one of the issues that we have mentioned already during this conversation is the whole idea of brain drain. And I'm not sure if it's your organization, but I heard that there is an organization who's developing a skills bank. So is that Village664, or was that the UK government office? I'm not sure. But is that something that you guys aspire to do as well? Because there's so many people out there in the diaspora who have skills that they can offer. Because I think sometimes when we have these discussions about how the diaspora can assist, people think that they need to physically return to Montserrat in order to contribute. So is that something that Village664 has in mind or is doing?
Right. One of our volunteers. So we have funded one project already. $4,000 was given to a group of 3 young people who spent the month of February going around to businesses, trying to get them on Google Maps, right? So setting up their business, their hours of operation, their menus or pictures of their shopping, depending on what business they were in. And that was led by actually a volunteer, somebody who is actually non-Montserratian, but lives in Montserrat, loves Montserrat, and she led the exercise with them. So here we go. It's out of the blue, there was an idea of a gap that needed to be filled. Someone came forward, and in so doing, we granted them 4,000 EC dollars to get it done. It's not quite complete, but certainly we know that people who came to Montserrat in March could have found businesses much more easily than they did last March or even in Christmas when they came.
Yeah, and I think the good thing about that, because I actually met with Miko Yuck, who was steamrolling that, and the good thing about it is that she was also teaching the young people new skills as well. So it wasn't just about registering the local businesses on Google. It was actually empowering them to first be able to go out and speak to those local businesses and
Right.
telling them the right type of photographs to take. I even learned something from Miko during the conversation, especially as it relates to the metadata and all of those things now in terms of Google and search engine optimization. So I think that that is also a valuable part of what you guys are doing, which leads me nicely into the question about the M&I Skills Hub, because that's something that I think took place maybe last month or the month before, and I didn't get the opportunity to attend. And I know that there's one that's coming up in May. So can someone from your group tell us about the Skills Hub and the whole idea behind that? Who would like to take this one?
Well, again, it's Miko Yuck, who's a volunteer, and she has four topics that she has in mind. I was actually there, and I speak to her because I was there for the first one in late January. There were about 14 or 15 people who came, and the topic was entrepreneurship. And many of them already in small businesses. Some of them, have full-time jobs, but they want to leave and go into small business. And she helped them with setting up a WhatsApp business account, looked at their Facebook page, looked at their website. And the idea was for them, they had homework, so they have a better website today than they did 2 months ago, and they use WhatsApp business for their operations. And so better able to communicate with their clients. And so that, again, the idea of training and improving businesses, improving lives in Montserrat.
Fantastic. And in terms of someone, so Mika obviously reached out to you guys. So how would someone reach out to you to express that they'd like to collaborate with you on an initiative like this? Because I think this is slightly separate to being an NGO, right? Who would like to take that?
Okay, so all right. So what Miko is doing, the initiative that Miko is taking for, we encourage that. So I mentioned earlier that one of the things that we're doing is putting together a database of people who have skills that they want to contribute and things that, skills and skill sets and services that they could provide to Montserratians in Montserrat, right? So our hope is that there will be more people like Miko offering different things that, that not just the NGOs can access, but even the government. They may say, listen, we have a need for some training in this area. Do you have that person? And so we'll be able to provide that. So yes, we that is part of what we do as well. So it's not just, it's not just the contributions that we said earlier. It's also providing service and actually getting that database together of people who have the skill set to offer to Montserrat.
Okay. So Derek mentioned the whole idea, a destination of choice or choice destination. So I feel it would be cool to ask each of you individually, what does that look like to you? So when you think of making Montserrat a destination of choice, Renika, what does that mean to you?
For me, I think it's having the opportunity to say, okay, it's Montserrat for me, without any hesitation, really. So, if you take into account what everyone has said with the healthcare, the infrastructure, the transport, it's just having it there without any other options of other places, and easily for them to go, I think, really. Yeah.
So your focus is more on access, really, being able to access the island in general.
Yeah.
Over to you, Natalie. When you think of the term destination of choice, I know that you mentioned your mum, and I'm sorry to hear about her situation. But what does destination of choice mean to you, even beyond healthcare? And I know you mentioned travel as well, but what else do you think that we need to really work on here? On Montserrat to make sure that when someone's thinking about somewhere that they want to move to, whether it's a friend of Montserrat or a Montserratian in the diaspora that they think of Montserrat?
Okay. Even though you told me don't talk about the
No,
transportation,
you can talk about it.
yeah, I think that's one of the biggest things for me. Just the ease of access. Luckily for me, if I need to go to Montserrat, I have family in Antigua, right, that I can stay. So even if someone does an issue with the ferry, whether the waters are rough, what is in place? What is in place to take care of that? So transportation and the ease of getting there is a huge, huge issue for me. And I think that would make it quite easier to even make up my mind to say, yeah, I'm going to go to Montserrat. It shouldn't be that difficult. Or even in March, where a lot of people are going, with the crowd, am I going to get stuck? I think transportation is my biggest thing.
So anything outside of that, especially as it relates to actually living on the island, is there anything else that you think may be an issue when trying to choose somewhere that you're going to uproot your family and move to?
Well, for me, I'm a person, I like the option of doing things. I love the arts. Um, so, and I know that there's a lot of artsy people in Montserrat. Big up to my cousin Chad, just to name one. But I would like to see more of that and more of that exposed, because those are things I like to see. I'm at that point. I've I've partied enough for a lifetime, so I don't really. So that's not something for me. But I like having the option of just having a simple vibe, going somewhere where someone is doing poetry. It shouldn't just be just a certain time of the year, you know. Stuff like that. So there's to be done. So that's my only other thing.
And over to you, Jermaine. What would make Montserrat a destination of choice for you? Because I know that you've also said up front that you're planning to move back home. So in planning to move back home, what are some of the restrictions that you faced personally, even in terms of building your own property and things like that?
Yeah, so that was that was had its own challenges. Fortunately for me, it wasn't as as difficult as it could have been, as from when you listen to some of the complaints that are out there. I had some wonderful people working on my property, so I didn't have a lot of problems with the property, except for now and then there might be some materials that we didn't get on time. But generally speaking, that process wasn't a bad one. But if I were to kind of touch on what Natalie just said about the transportation, when in Christmas we came home. I went home, my daughter and my two grandkids. And when we got to Antigua, they said, well, the sea's rough and we had to stay in Antigua. We had to find a hotel. A friend of ours in Montserrat called somewhere in Antigua and booked a hotel room for us. And we had to stay there until the next afternoon. So we lost a whole day hanging around Antigua, before we could get on that ferry the next night, only to be told that the ferry left in the morning, but nobody contacted us, so the communication there was not very good. And they were like, well, why weren't y'all on this morning? You got to pay more money to change your thing. I like, well, why are we changing when you cancel it? So those are some of the stories, but they didn't communicate with us that it was going in the morning. So we had to wait until the evening time and wasted a whole day. And again, traveling with two small kids, one was 1 year, one 3 years old. It was a challenge. So that is one of the issues, the travel. And certainly healthcare. I'm getting older, heading closer to retirement. Healthcare obviously is going to become even more and more of an issue for people like me. And so you want to be in a place that you can get certain things. So that is something that I have to think about as well. Again, partying is not necessarily the biggest thing for me, but you still would like to have a little entertainment, especially I think for young people. I think that's important too, because some of them coming home, the younger they are, they want something to do on a Friday night, but it's I don't know, something somewhere, as opposed to doing nothing. And I myself wouldn't mind the option of having something to do sometimes, but those are just some of the things that I really want to see healthcare develop, because I know there's so much out there, and there's so many Montserratians in the diaspora who, have so much knowledge with regards to healthcare and could really do so much at home to make
Thank
it.
you.
One thing, Vinay, is
Oh, sorry. Go on.
I wanted to say is that, which I've mentioned to Derek in the group, is you might also have diaspora who don't know much about Montserrat, or there might be second generation in the UK or US, and there's a lack of information available to those who want to move back. For instance, when I decided to move back 2022, of course, one would do their own research and ask questions, or, contact various persons, but there isn't like almost like a template, or, to say you must go to here to set up this, or, you must have a bank account, or at Bank of Montserrat, or just basic needs that someone could actually get started and go in. And I think that's all part of having an option of choice, because if you look at other places across the Caribbean or anywhere else in the world, you'd have examples of how to make the move. So I think that's something that's definitely missing in terms of the information that's provided, and also just having a sense of community when you do arrive. Okay, who can I contact first, or who can I get in touch with about whether it's accommodations or just the basic needs to actually get one to go. I mean, I'm fine to do my own research, but you have people who don't have those necessary skills or want to do that. They kind of want the information fed to them directly. So I think it's having a central portal that caters to people who are coming back, and these are the steps that you have to do to come back, and make it enticing for them to actually come in the first place. So you could have anything from entertainment to, accommodation or whatever. So the information needs to be there to have people who don't necessarily have those existing links on the ground.
That's a very valid point, because obviously, as someone moving back myself, it's something that I experience. And then also because we don't have a city or a central hub. So most of the offices are in one direction. You go to multiple different places just to get, just to clear something from customs. You could be going to 5 different organizations, and the average person wouldn't even know that. And in terms of like registering your child for school, or access to healthcare, and lots of the issues that you guys have mentioned. So we have people online who are saying an online information desk about Montserrat is important. And then also someone said some very good and valid points. So I think as someone who made the move back, Renika, you might be very well placed to maybe give some feedback to whether it's the Premier's office or whoever, because obviously we're working on the diaspora program as well. And I think you've made some very valid points there that sometimes we can overlook, because sometimes we forget about the softer things, and we might focus on, say, infrastructure or even transport or healthcare, which everybody else has alluded to. But that is a very, very valid point. So Derek, did you have anything to add about destination of choice?
So I'll take a different slant, and that's investment. So, even if everybody won't want to come and live in Montserrat, whether there be a family circumstance or the age and so forth, but certainly we would like Montserratians to invest in Montserrat, because they can make money from investing in Montserrat, whether it be in property, whether it be in housing, or even a business venture. And also we would like the children of those expats who bought homes in the 70s and 80s, who are now getting older and probably some passing away, for them to decide to keep their parents home, and they return to Montserrat with their children and grandchildren as they age. So the whole choice is choosing to be in Montserrat, whether you live overseas, you're from overseas, or choosing to stay in Montserrat for those of them who live at home. And you mentioned, the challenge of doing things. And this is another hat I wear in terms of ease of doing business. And I really believe that in Montserrat, we should find a way to look at every single service that government offers. Everyone, passports, customs, vehicle registration, and so forth. How can we make it simpler? How can we make the paying process simpler? And by so doing, make Montserrat more attractive to businesses who look around the Caribbean. They want to find some place that has electricity that works, phone that works, water that works, and governments that work. Make Montserrat more attractive, and that will enhance government Montserrat's ability to grow the population, and by so doing, enhancing healthcare, education, business, and so on.
Absolutely. And I think in a lot of ways, even for myself as someone returning back, when I was in the UK, the focus was always on continuous improvement. So constantly reviewing your processes and making them as streamlined as possible. But what I find here within our culture is that we have a culture of we have always done it this way.
Right.
And even if it doesn't work, it's the way that we've always done it. So even when you think about even some of the financial tools that are available or not available on the island here in 2024, it can get very frustrating when I'm still dealing with things like being paid by check, and having to physically go into a bank when I left the UK and I was tapping my phone everywhere for a
Right.
payment. So I think there's also a change of mindset that's also important outside of the infrastructure and everything else. A change of mindset is very important, but it also brings me nicely onto my next question, which is when we speak about destination of choice, one of the things that attracts me to a destination is their unique identity and their culture. So how do you guys think that cultural preservation plays a role in making somewhere a destination of choice? I'll start with Ronika again, just because I know you were the product officer at tourism, so you might have some views on there. But how important it is for us to preserve our culture in making sure that Montserrat is a destination of choice. But there's key things, because like when you go to, say, Trinidad or somewhere else, for example, you know you're going to have specific things that you can identify with as Trinidadian. So how do we ensure that in making Montserrat a destination of choice, that we're preserving our culture in the process?
So I think one thing is that are we preserving it at home? And I believe that it's one of the key things that's missing. For instance, with the younger diaspora now, they might not know, and a lot of them don't know much about Montserrat. They know more about the other islands, as you said, Trinidad, and whether it's doubles and the carnival and whatnot. But I think it really starts with home. If we're not actively talking about Montserrat for what it is, then we don't have that interest of going back to Montserrat or making it a choice. Destination. But I think it's just also working with people on the ground who have interest in unique products and actually invest in time and skill set in them to actually get it up and running. It's a hard task to do, but a lot of it comes down.
I think your mic's muted.
Yeah, we lost her for a second. Okay.
Yeah, we lost the last bit of what you said there just now, Anika.
Oh, sorry about that. I was saying that there is a lot that Montserrat has to offer. It's all about having the resources and the time for people to actually allow those to grow. I think in terms of the product side, with the tourism, it's a growing market, and I think that individuals need those support, whether it's from the tourism board, whether it's from the government, and also the investment. One thing is that if you look at other islands, they have the investment there. People are willing to gain investment, whether it's from the Middle East or from America, and we just don't have that at the moment. So I think that's one of the key ways that we can keep and maintain Montserrat as a heritage and cultural aspect. But it also starts back with the house, I believe.
Thank you, Rini. Would anyone else like to add to that? Thank you.
Yeah, I'm just gonna piggyback off of Ronnie. It definitely does start at home, and something that some of my friends they make fun of me about. I still keep my accolada. I still do like certain things. I still have Sheila Noel. These are things that I have. I know why. I know things about certain bush, but these are things that are not being shared with the younger generation. I don't know if it's because it's taken for granted, or some people feel, oh, that's old, that's to the older people. But you look at other cultures and how they preserve, and why can't we do that? You know what I mean? So definitely, I do believe it starts from home, because oftentimes I go on a post, for instance, Angela Yee, she's a journalist, right?
Mhm.
And she has her own radio show. And someone posted something, and you have someone saying, "Oh yeah, my grandmother was born there. My grandfather was born there,"
Mhm.
but they know nothing about it.
Mhm.
You
And
know,
Angela Yee is actually half Montserratian as well.
I'm sorry.
So did you know that Angela Yee is half Montserratian?
Yes. It was a picture of her, I think, when she was young. Yeah.
In Rhiner's Village, yeah.
So the same younger folks, they're more interested in going to other islands versus here. So what are we not doing? We also have to take accountability to what we're not doing as well. So I just have to agree with Ronnie with that. It starts.
Yeah. And I think it's also points like, for example, Renika mentioned doubles. If you go to Trinidad any day of the week, you can find someone selling doubles and their sweets and stuff like that. But again, we've almost gotten into this trap of only really celebrating our history and our culture at two peak seasons. So on the average day, if you were someone who came here on an off-peak vacation, would you be even able to get our national dish, goat water? Or would you be able to get some guava cheese? Or would you be able to get some ginger sticks? And those are things that, we grew up with, but we're also aging. And I think one of the things that the volcano did as well is that it actually took away that grandmothering and that grandfathering element of things, because our diaspora is so scattered, that those things that would have naturally happened as almost a rites of passage, we no longer have that. So it's how do we recreate that? And I know that the Montserrat National Trust has recently launched a hidden history herbal medicines book, which I was helping them to promote. And the idea behind that book is actually they had the young cadets go around and speak to people in the old people's homes and local farmers and things like that, to find out the medicinal properties of a lot of the plants that we may have used in bush tea, whether it's aloe vera, fever grass, honkuli, all these different things, but making sure that we're preserving them in a document that can then be passed down to the next generation. So I think that was a fantastic move forward. But Derek, over to you. I see you shaking your head. So what else can we do in terms of cultural preservation to make Montserrat a destination of choice?
Oh, I was agreeing with what ladies were saying already. So again, when I'm thinking of a Village 664 opportunity, and it is identifying those gaps which you've done so well the last 5-10 minutes, and having some people come forward and say, we want to preserve string band. String band, I think, is probably gone. Not sure it's still around, but masquerades we still have. String band, I think, is probably very few and far between, right? So how can we get some younger people to learn the instruments and organize a group that plays not only at Christmas time and St. Patrick's, but is available to do events all year round, right? So again, I think as we talk more and more, we see gaps, right? And I think the goal of what we want to do is to try and fill those gaps through people who have the passion to see Montserrat succeed, whether it comes to maintaining the cultural heritage or making it more easily to do business, or improving the healthcare and so forth.
Absolutely. And over to you, Jermaine, there. What message would you like to convey to someone who may be watching this interview and they're living overseas? Why should they really consider getting involved with Village 664?
Oh, I think that Village 664 is a grouping, a coming together, and I think even I consider it to be a movement. That's what we aspire for it to be, a movement, not just a fad, not just something for now, but something that can be ongoing even when we're gone, that it continues. Because as you were talking about being in England and people look at how to continually develop things. We want Montserrat to be on that same path, continue to develop. Even when we're dead and gone, people are still here trying to develop for the times. And I think one of the things we offer, well, a couple of things we offer to people in the diaspora, we offer the transparency, we offer a place for them to safely, invest in Montserrat if they don't want to go and do something personal, but they can come through our organization. We offer them the ability to be able to share what their skills and the knowledge, if they so choose to do so, or just supporting whatever way they can. So I think it's an amazing organization, and I think it should and it will stand the test of time. And hopefully we'll all be listening and hearing what the needs are as they evolve, because they evolve as people evolve, and we'll be able to help in whatever way we can. So yeah. And just before, because I should have mentioned earlier, because I remember earlier you asked a question about how people can contact us, and we have our website, which is village664.com, and we have our email address, which is info. It's at the bottom of the screen, info@village664.com. So people can reach us; they can contact us if they need to with their ideas and so forth.
And you have a Facebook page as well?
Sorry?
Your Facebook page?
And we have a Facebook page, Village664.
Okay, and that was actually going to be my next question. So how can individuals or companies interested in contributing to Village664 get involved? So I know that throughout the conversation, we've mentioned a variety of ways to get involved. So if you can just make a note of the information that's running along the screen. I'll also update the caption, guys, so that you can have the information in the caption of this live stream as well. Before we go and we close out the conversation, Derek, in terms of long-term goals and aspirations, what would you say the long-term goals and aspirations are for Village664 outside of everything that we've already discussed?
Lovely way to end the conversation. And I would say, well, one, our next step is to hire somebody who they're going to pay the salary to promote Village664, build awareness, build engagement, and start getting in donations, right? We're serious, and we're going to be transparent, and we really want to be 5-10 years from now, look back and say that we are trusted by both those who give and those who receive. We're trusted by the Montserrat population, because they can see the fruits of the work that Montserratians and friends of Montserrat across the world have provided for us to use to benefit Montserrat. And so the idea really is to be long lasting. People are saying, oh yeah, another talk shop, we've seen it come and go. We want to be different, and we believe that we have some committed and dedicated members, people who are eager, they're asking questions, they want to help from across the world. And so it's really about finding the talent where it's needed, and we will soon mention that who we've hired and what skills that person has and brought to the table. And the goal is to spread the word, get people on board, help Government of Montserrat find good members to serve on boards. We'll have a database of skills and talent, and recommend people to the Government of Montserrat to serve in different capacities to make Montserrat better. We have a lot of things to give back, and we plan to tap into those resources as best we can.
Okay, I've seen someone give a very detailed comment here, so I'll just read it out. When my youngest 23-year-old son and grandnephew were telling their friends they were going to Montserrat for St. Patrick's and look for Montserrat online, Spain would pop up. This information was shared with Tourist Board. Once they got here, they were blown away by the beauty of Montserrat and took so many pictures and videos, even using a drone. And I'm so impressed. And I think it just goes back to what you guys have been saying, what Renika has been saying as well. It's just very important to make sure that we're selling Montserrat to the young people as well, because as we know, young people are the innovators. And I think part of the reason why the island is the way that it is because of the brain drain, and because as soon as they become of age for different issues, because obviously in terms of finances, cost of living here is high, and it's a lot more attractive to go to somewhere like the UK where you can get a student loan as opposed to your family funding you to go to the University of the West Indies, for example. So it's such a layered issue But I'm very happy to have had you guys on to actually, you know, encourage people to take an active role in the redevelopment of the island. Because so many people approach me and they say, Montserrat doesn't have this and Montserrat doesn't have that. And my response is always, if you've identified a problem, be the solution.
Right.
You know, there's only 4,000 of us here. And like you said, when you break that population down, it's not just adults. Like that 4,000 is children as well. So when you actually look at the active working population, it may just be 1,000, you know. So we need as many people, all hands on deck, basically to help us out. And I love what you guys are doing. You're empowering people to take that step. You're not trying to dictate to people what they can do, because different people may have different ideas. But before we go, would all of you just like to say a last word to the people about why they should really get on board with what you're doing? And if they don't do it through Village664, to just get on board in general for the redevelopment of the island. So over to you, Jermaine.
Unmute.
Who can hear, who's hearing us and who might be listening to the recording. You know, Village664, we make a promise to you that we will be transparent. We do the best that we can to help with the redevelopment and continual development of Montserrat. We welcome whatever expertise or skills that you have to offer. We welcome your donations. We just welcome you, and you know, we want to make Montserrat that choice destination.
Fantastic. And over to you, Natalie. What's your final word?
Okay. I think what I would like people to take away is consider Village664 as a partnership to get things done. We're not here to overtake. We're not here to do anything like that. It's a partnership for the better good of Montserrat. And also just support in any way you can. If it's not financial, your skill sets, you know, even if it's just information you want to share. So I would encourage that partnership and support.
Thank you very much. And over to you, Renika.
Yeah, so I was going to say, you know, small steps makes a difference. And I think a lot of the time we have these grand, big ideas and we don't know what to do with them. So I think Village664 definitely is that portal that would help someone who has something to give, whether it's time, you know, resources, and just actually dedicate it to seeing it through. I think that's the key thing, is that the dedication of actually developing Montserrat. A lot of us have all these things and we just don't know what to do. But it's just taking the time and said, you know what, I'm going to actually do this for a couple of months, a year or two, and just see it through. And we're not a talking shop. We're actually here to, you know, make small but mighty changes. And I believe we can do that with all the grand things that we have in place. So we have our new person coming, starting in the communication, who will help us on ground and spread the word. So we're excited for that for the next couple of months, and we'll, you know, watch this space.
Thank you. And last but certainly not least, Derek.
So what I'd like to say to anyone listening today, or whenever they listen to it, is to ask themselves one question. What does Montserrat's future need from me? Now, what does Montserrat even today need from me? And if you want to find out, contact Village664 and we'll help you identify how we can connect you with whoever needs your talent, your skills, your resources to make Montserrat better.
Fantastic. And I think that is a great way to end our conversation, guys. So thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to speak with you. I commend you for all of the hard work that you are doing and will do. And of course, if I can assist in any way, if there's any marketing or promotion or anything that you guys need to push, I'm happily willing to use my platform to do so. Because like I said, it's going to take all hands on deck, and it's going to take all of us to work together to really be the change that we want to see. Don't be that person in the diaspora, or even here on the island, who's just talking and complaining, and this needs to be done. Like, within every problem, there's a solution. So thank you so much, guys. Up next on 664 tomorrow, I actually have we're announcing the winner of the Montserrat Vlogstar competition. So before I say goodbye to the guys from Village664, I just want to run a video, because my brother and I, through Silk Cotton Villa, we hosted a competition during St. Patrick's where we were inviting young creatives to create a video that will promote our brands, but also promote Montserrat. So I'm not sure if you guys have seen it, but I'm just going to run the videos so you can get a taste of some of the talent that's also out there from local Montserratians and also Montserratians in the diaspora. So this first video is actually by a group called Emerald Point of View, or POV, and this was their contribution to the competition. So they're one of the finalists, and this is what they produced.
Wander through the vibrant streets, indulge in the flavors of our exquisite cuisine, and let the warmth of our people envelop you in their hospitality. Whether you seek adventure or tranquility, Montserrat offers it all and more. Discover why this hidden gem is the ultimate destination for those seeking a perfect blend of relaxation and adventure. Your journey to the Emerald Isle starts here. Don't just dream it, live it.
So that was the first video by Emerald Point of View. So they are one of two finalists. And the next finalist is actually a 15-year-old, Isaiah Lee, the grandson of David Lee. And this was his contribution. So he actually wrote an entire song and everything. So feel free to stick around and watch it with us. Hold on.
In the heart of the Caribbean, there's a place called Montserrat. A gem of an island, a sight to behold. Montserrat, the island of a lord, where the black sand beaches reside, and the sun always shines. Nestled amidst the palms, a vision of grace. Silk cotton villa, a serene embrace, where the sea breeze whispers secrets untold, and the tales of love and laughter unfold. Oh, Montserrat, where the waves gently kiss the shore, underneath the palm trees we'll explore, in this tropical haven where dreams come alive. Montserrat, our paradise, let's take the dive. With empty skies above and the sun's warm embrace, we'll dance to the rhythm of this enchanting place. The melodies of nature in harmony's embrace, as we wander the shores, leaving footsteps to trace amongst the gardens lush where flowers bloom bright. Silk cotton villa stands a beacon of light, where romance finds its home in every sight and sound. In this sanctuary of love where happiness is found. Oh, Montserrat, where happiness is found. Oh, Montserrat, where the waves gently kiss the shore, underneath the palm trees we'll explore, in this tropical haven where dreams come alive. Montserrat, our paradise, let's take the dive. Green forest we'll venture hand in hand, discovering hidden treasures as if in a wonderland. Every moment spent here a memory to keep in this paradise of Montserrat, where love runs deep. Oh, Montserrat, where the waves gently kiss the shore, underneath the palm trees Montserrat, where love runs deep. In this tropical haven, where dreams come alive, Montserrat, a paradise, let's take a dive. So let's raise a toast to Montserrat's charm, and this Caribbean high, we'll find no harm, for in the embrace of this island so grand, Montserrat, our paradise, forever we'll stand. In silk cotton villas embrace, hand in hand.
So I see you guys. I see some body movement there, and I see some people jigging along to the music. So I think you guys like number 2. But yes, thank you so much, guys, once again for tuning in. If you're interested in finding out who the winner is, we'll be announcing it tomorrow right here on 664 at 5 p.m. I'll definitely upload the videos one more time in the morning, but I think that is a perfect example of how persons in the diaspora and persons here locally have so much to contribute in terms of promoting and pushing the island. So any final word before we say goodbye, guys?
Thank you. Thank you very much for sharing.
Thank you so much, guys, and have a wonderful evening. Okay?
Thank you, Vinay. Thanks.
Good
Take
evening.
care. Bye.